forces that had been sent by Lord Tennock had proved amazingly successful in restoring the points of the geomantic web. Unfortunately, their work had not gone unnoticed. As they repaired the flow of magic, certain long-abandoned sites had become swollen with power. One such site is the ancient lookout post of Luogo di Potere in the former lands of Telea. The three remaining towers of the lookout post have channeled so much of the newly released magic that their glowing crests had been seen for miles. So it was that the forces that battled for the remains of these broken lands began to converge on the site. The Dwarfs and Lizardmen thought they were the first to arrive, and began to prepare to battle for the ruins. However, there was another power that was drawn to the site, one that had been buried here for millennia, the undead forces of Prince Samta of the Tomb Kings of Nehekara. Quickly, the battle turned from one of reasonably friendly rivalry between the Dwarfs and Lizardmen to a three-way battle for survival as the undead sought to claim the power of the site from the other races. The towers were the key, and the three generals knew that they must be claimed before any other interlopers appeared to challenge their possession of them. Alright, so here is our ramp-up game. The last game we'll play at 1,000 points, and this is a scenario of my own devising. The things to pay attention to are the towers on both sides of the table. Tower 1 is on the left, Tower 2 is on the right. Each one of us has a potential unlockable linked to that tower. So the point is to get somebody into that tower and claim it. Starting at the bottom of turn 3, if the towers are claimable, you roll for the towers to be sealed. It starts off on turn 3 at a 6-up and then goes down by each turn up until they're claimed. When they are claimed, the towers become impassable terrain and the unit inside them is removed from play. And whatever side claims them unlocks their the unlockable they've attached to that tower. Furthermore, once the two towers are claimed, the altar in the center, which represents the third tower, becomes unlocked. It's an open area, it's not actually a building. But that then starts to count down until the game ends, starting at 5 up, 4 up, so on and so forth at the end of the turn. The strongest force in there, measured by total number of ranks, plus 2 points for your general if he's within 6, and 1 point for each character that's within 6, will control it at the end of the game. Win and loss will be determined by normal points, but whoever claims each tower gets 200 points, and whoever claims the altar in the middle gains 400 points. So definitely a lot going on here, but other than that, it's going to be a fun three-way battle, and we'll get into deployment. Alright, so starting with the dwarves in that cave in the back is Rolus, the runesmith. Next to them facing the tower is a unit of hammerers. I think there's 24 in there. Then there's a gyro bomber. Hiding behind the trees is a unit of hand weapon warriors. They have Forik, the bearer of the van, his BSB in there, and a gyrocopter up at the corner. So Undead Legion rolled that they had to deploy second. So behind the little house there, we have the Casket of Souls. On top of the house, which he just removed the building, is his Scullipult. Then he's got 10 archers, and behind them is 20 skeletal spearmen with a necromancer in it. Level 2 lore of vampires. Kebi is her name. Then is Graveguard, looks like 20 strong with Prince Samta. And then 10 archers. You can also see here he has 5 skeletal horsemen that ended up scouting in on the side. Then we go into Lizardmen. I have 1 Bastiladon. I have the Fangs of Gorokoth, who are my Regiment of Renown Saurus warriors with Always Strikes First. They're wielding spears, and with them is their master Gorokoth. Next to that is my first skink cohort. It has 11 skinks with javelins and shields, and a Croxagore. In front of that is my first Scarvet on a cold one. He has the Fencer's Blades and basically a 1-up, 2-up against fire. And then behind that unit is Mapikaju, my level 2 wizard to Heavens. And in the skink cohort is Kubonai, my skink chief, and he is carrying the Egg of Quango. So I get first turn, and we are off. The big thing I'm afraid of is the shooting from the Tomb Kings, I definitely don't want too many of those arrows that always hit to go into the tower, because I'm planning on just claiming that tower with Mapikaju, and I don't want him to die to arrow shots. So my Cold One Rider runs straight for them, and everything else comes on hard. I want to deal with the Tomb Kings because they're the first thing on my face. And so then during Magic, I open up Miscast with Chain Lightning and rock Chain Lightning through his entire army. It does several wounds all over the place. You can actually see that big pile of models in the back is what got taken off. But I hit every unit and wounded everything at least once, with the exception of the Casket of Souls. And as you can see, Mapikaju took a wound from the miscast, but he's not in a unit, so no one else died. And then the cohort throws javelins. They're at far range against those skeletons. And I end up killing 2 of the skeletons with poison javelins, so that was pretty excellent. So next goes the Tomb Kings, and I didn't take a picture of their movement because they didn't make any. They stood there ready to do their thing. During Magic phase, he manages to get the casket off on my unit of Saurus, but my leadership roll wasn't bad, so he only takes a single wound. 1 Saurus dies, and the effect does not bounce. And shooting accomplishes nothing, so we go to Michael's turn for the Dwarves, and the Dwarves just spread out a little bit. He seems fully happy to let me and Skip murder each other and sit in the back and pick off whoever looks weak. So I guess we're kind of dumb for letting him do that, but the Saurus are mad for... Well, I can't say blood. They're mad for bone matter? I'm not sure, but that's where we're going. So we go into Lizardmen turn 2. The Cold One Rider goes into his archers, no problem. The cohort goes into the flank of his skeletal horsemen because he moved them up. And everything else is just coming on. I'm backing up Mapikaju, so he's right there next to the tower. So come turn 3, I can get him in there and hopefully close the tower down pretty quickly and claim it. I get off Chain Lightning again with another miscast on my turn, kill 1 Graveguard and bounce it to the archers, kill 1 archer, and then it stops bouncing. Luckily, though, I rolled a 7 on the miscast result, so it hurts everyone around me, but he's off by himself, so no harm, no foul. But it does end my Magic phase. Then during combat, I think Kubonai by himself kills the 2 horsemen, so that's no big deal, and the cohort reforms like this. I know he's got Killing Blow on those Graveguard. I really can't afford to let my Scarvet get into him by himself, so I need to ready a counterattack there when I can. And then during combat over here, you can see the Scarvet just absolutely vaporizes the 10 archers. I do not overrun, so I am sitting there staring staring a group of Graveguard and his Tomb Prince right in the face. And of course, on the Undead Legions turn, the Tomb Guard are going, or the Graveguard, they're not Tomb Guard, they're Graveguard, they're vampire counts dudes. Graveguard is going to slam directly into the front of my Scarvet. My only hope here is that I can challenge out and hopefully not die, because I'm still within my leadership bubble, and maybe he won't break. So, beyond that, I think this is Magic phase. He does succeed in getting his bubble off, so he regrows all of the damage that I've done to the Graveguard, because his lore is lore of vampires, so he's Invocation of Nehek and got them all back. Basically undid almost all the damage I had done with the Chain Lightning the first turn. So I did in combat kill his champion, but I don't break, even though I think I actually might have won. But we go over to the Dwarves. The Dwarves continue to slowly move. For the first time all campaign, Michael is looting these various mysterious terrains like a beast. I think he's got 35 or 40 gold just from looting so far because he's rolling just absolutely insanely. He does choose to move up the gyrocopters, so he's kind of putting some pressure on Skip, though he is not firing with them yet. I think he's trying to hold some sort of truce. Maybe he's going to come over and support. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing yet. Or maybe he's just trying to distract Skip. So any of those could be valid strategic aims at this point in the game. So we go into my turn, and I realize I have to hit these Graveguard like a truck if I am going to at all get have a chance to not lose that Scarvet. So basically I charge everything in there, succeed with all my charges, and unfortunately with the Scarvet having to have been stuck in the middle there, I don't get to maximize either unit. I can make way with Gorokoth, who is my plan, and I'm just going to throw a challenge out there and see if he'll sacrifice up his Tomb Prince. I bring up the Bastiladon because he is initiative 2, and with the Bastiladon giving my Saurus initiative, they will get rerolls on their Always Strikes First. I'm pretty sure that's why I did that. And I had no magic that worked, so we go into combat. I tried to challenge out his Tomb King. He refuses the challenge and goes to the back, and I pop the Egg of Quango. The Egg of Quango does something like 9 Strength 5 attacks and blows away half the unit by itself. And then between the 3 characters there and what Saurus can get through, that Graveguard unit did not stand a chance. They got blown right the hell off the table. So we go into Undead Legion's turn. At this point, he's starting to turn his units towards me. I know he's doing it a little reluctantly because he doesn't want to turn his back on those gyros. He's also basically chump blocking me here with the archers, hoping that I'll hit them, overrun, and have to go into the gyrocopters, which is not a terrible idea. It'll keep me away from his skeletal warriors and his necromancer until he can raise dead some dudes. And speaking of which, that's what he does. He raise deads a unit of 10 zombies, which he's using Bretonnian men-at-arms for until he actually gets zombies. Basically right there in the middle of everything. I don't have a good way. Now I'm basically stuck. I've got to deal with that zombie unit because they're just blocking everything up there. Then he does, I think this is shooting, because I don't think his magic did much of anything. But I think he shoots a couple of the skinks. He's trying real hard to hit things with the catapult. He keeps trying to throw it right on the head of Mapikaju, and it's just drifting off and not getting the job done. So then on the Dwarfs' turn, the Dwarves finally start to move out in force. If you'll notice, sneaking up to the tower like a thief in the night is Gris, the Rune Priest. He's going to try and sneak in there and close things down. He's hoping if he can get his dwarves into the center, we close down the towers pretty quick. He might be able to steal the game out from under us at this point. Then he flies over, drops a bomb on the Saurus. I don't think he kills anybody. With the gyrocopter, lands in the water. The water is a river of light, so he ends up getting banishment and taking a wound from the banishment. Then his gyro bomber comes, and turns out that he's going after me. He flies right over the Saurus warrior, drops a bomb, it direct hits. He kills basically a full rank of Saurus warriors, and the bomb does not bounce after that point, and he lands right in the middle of the altar. So that is super not good. So we go into my turn. I decide to throw my Scarvet guy, I'm naming him Sitaru, but I haven't unlocked him as an actual named character for the purposes of the rules of our campaign, so I'm not referring to him like that yet. But I figure he can probably handle this group of zombies, so I'm just going to throw him right at him and see what happens. And since it is turn 3, Mapikaju enters the building, hoping to be able to stay alive there to go ahead and claim it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to divert some of my attentions to send a unit back to get a hold of this building. And you pretty much see how everything else goes. I actually reformed the Saurus warriors to make them a little thinner. They're only 5-man wide now, which will let me squeeze past the zombies in the event that Sitaru cannot handle them. I also turn the cohort so it can start throwing poison javelins at the bombers and the copters, and then I back up the Bastillodon so he can laser beam somebody if I get a good magic phase. Then Mappy Kaji decides to show someone the business end of a lightning bolt. He ends up hitting the chain lightning on the first gyrocopter, blowing it to Kingdom Come. It jumps to the second gyrocopter and he only inflicts 1 wound on it. But then he does the extra D6 strength 4 wounds from the Lore of Heavens, because it's a flying creature. And 2 wounds went through, so it got killed as well. So both flyers taken out in a single spell. Then we go into combat, and of course the Sitaru on his cold one just absolutely mincemeats that unit of skeletons, or the unit zombies. At this point, I'm realizing what the dwarves are doing, and the fact that now that I've been reduced my main combat block to like half strength, me and the Undead Legions need to figure out a way to deal with him. So we're working on striking some sort of strange truce. Part of that strange truce as we go into the Undead Legion's turn is letting his Necromancer run like hell out of that unit and get to safety. She's actually going to go run around behind me and start looting some forests because she doesn't want to die from the onslaught. So I was figuring that's okay. I'm more focused on the dwarves at this point anyway. So the dwarves again did not move at all. So we go straight into my next turn. Neither of the towers were claimed on turn 3. So I just start moving everything around. I want to get close enough to claim the center, and the dwarves obviously are going that way, so they're going to try and do that too. You do notice on his last turn he did summon another unit of zombies just to shield his running necromancer in case I decided to double cross him, which I didn't. I didn't feel any need to. So we go into then, because I really didn't need to do anything, we go into Undead Legion's turn. You'll notice his Necromancer has run into the forest. She'll be looting and getting some gold this turn. And everybody else is starting to turn to look at the massive and unhurt army of dwarves that are coming towards us. And in case you forgot what they look like, here they are, taking their turn to square up against us. Now, the Dwarf Rune Priest is in the other tower, and I don't remember whether it's this turn or the next turn. The Skull Catapult just dive bombs right on his head and kills him before he can claim the tower. So that's going to change things just a little bit. So we continue to push. This is my turn again. Towers still have not been claimed. I'm starting to push up on him. The dwarves need to have some pressure on them, but I'm worried that it may be too late. And to be able to put the pressure I need to on them, I basically have to ignore the Undead Legion. So I'm hoping I've weakened them enough so that they're not going to be a threat, because I'm having to show them my ass, and I don't like that at all. And finally, some javelins go to work. I do manage to kill 2 dwarf warriors. Yay, go me! Then during Undead Legion's turn, the only thing this little... And it's actually, now I'm looking at it, it's not a necromancer, it's actually a baby vampire. That's why it's moving so fast. So baby vampire runs from the forest to the water, drinks the water, and loots it, so gets a little bit more gold. Other than that, there is really absolutely nothing the undead turd is doing, except I think he's going to try to get some more units of zombies up and try and, if he hasn't already... there it is. He does, on this turn, kill the Rune Lord out of the tower, or the Rune Smith out of the tower. So there's nobody in that tower. It's not going to be claimed until he can get a unit in there. Then on the dwarf turn, they realize how screwed they are by that and start backing up a little bit. What his ultimate aim is to back up the hammer unit who has his BSB in it now, Forik, and get him close enough so that he can exit the unit and enter the building on the same turn. And because the number at which the building closes still clicks down, by the time he'll get there, it'll be like a 2-up to claim the building, so he's pretty much got it. And then at the end of this turn, as you can see by my terribly blurry thumb, the tower number 2 is claimed by Mapikaju. So Mapikaju is removed from the game. I do not have a wizard anymore, but I have unlocked my particular unlockable, which tied into this tower, was a new named character for me, who will be a skink priest of the lore of beasts. So very excited about that. And so I go to my turn, and I just run my cold one here along the side. I really don't know what he's going to do. So I'm kind of here just to cause him a little bit of trouble, mess with his swift reform abilities, and just kind of get in the way. I have no illusions of charging that cold one into the side of the hammers being anything but instant death for him, and I frankly don't want to give him the free points. Everything else here, the great green tide is moving forward. Now I move forward here, and then I realize, you know what? If I move forward enough to engage these dwarves, all that unit of spearmen has to do is sneaky run over to the altar, so when the other tower is claimed, he'll have the points to, or the unit strength there to win it. So I'm kind of second guessing our alliance at this point because I'm seeing what my opponent may be able to do, and it worries me. I do some more poison shots and kill 2 hammerers. Then we go to the Undead Legion's turn. The vampire starts to swim across the water, which is a little silly, but works. She's trying to run to the next lootable thing, as I think by this point Skip has probably given up, other than his one sneaky chance, as you see the skeleton spearmen are moving towards the altar like I was afraid they would. Other than that, he's giving up his chance to win, and he just wants to loot as much as he can to get as much gold as he can to build this army up. So yeah, you see he's slowly coming over this way. I think he was trying to be nonchalant about it so I wouldn't notice it, but I have uncovered your plot, you sneaky bastard. And realizing that I have uncovered his plot, the vampire is like, oh, I don't want that Bastiladon to turn around and beat me in the face, so summons a big old unit of undead zombies in the water to block. I just want to point out how amusing it is to me to have a bunch of Bretonnians be summoned up out of the center of a lake. That was just... I was laughing about that one for a while. So with nothing else going on for the Undead Legions, we go to the Dwarves' turn. The Hammerers swift reform, so they are facing my cold one, and then they have... He put Forik, the Bearer of the Van, right on the corner, so on his next turn, he can leave that unit and get into the building and claim it on a 2-up. So then we go to my turn, and my poor Cold One Rider fails his only stupidity check all game now that he's facing down Hammerers, and stumbles forward until he gets an inch from them, and I just... oh no. And I am slowly moving around trying to get my Bastiladon to go after his mage. Other than that, I didn't move anything. I moved everything back a little bit. But this is actually after the Undead's next turn. The Bretonnians just turn around to continue facing the Bastiladon, and the vampire realizes that discretion is the better part of valor, and decides to run away rather than have to deal with the Bastiladon. And then here I reform because while I respect my opponent attempting to steal victory from the jaws of defeat, I can't account for it. So I've got to turn around and try and hurt him badly with powerful scaled warriors. So that's what I do. I guess that last picture shows him kind of squaring up with me because he can't get around me. Either way, that's how it's going down. Then during Magic Phase... my opponent gets pretty smart here. I was keeping the cohort in the center ready for the dwarves, so he decides to go ahead and summon a unit of zombies right behind them that's going to put some pressure on me. Particularly when he follows it up with an Invocation of Nehek that turns it into a 20-strong unit of zombies. And that just became real freaking scary. So I can't turn around because I'll be showing my ass to the dwarves, and they're getting closer to an easy charge. But I don't know that I can take that in the back. I'm just going to have to kind of grit my teeth and let the zombies come in, and hopefully I'll hold them off. Then he tries to use the catapult on my Saurus, or not my Saurus, on my Skinks. It drifts off right onto these poor zombies and crushes, looks like 8 or 9 of them. Then it goes into the dwarves' turn. The dwarves do not charge with the hammers because he wants to take the opportunity to move Forik into the building, which he does, which means he's almost certainly going to claim it at the end of this turn because he just needs to roll a 2-up to do so. And he does. Dwarves claim Tower 1, and that unlocks for him the Master Rune of Grungi, which is the defensive battle standard bearer rune that they have. So then I go, and this is like turn 9, I think. This game's longer than maybe I intended when I wrote the scenario. But my Cold One is Rider is not stupid this time. Decides he's going to get the hell out of Dodge, runs around the dwarf units, is not march blocked, makes it to the forest, tries to loot, and stumbles upon traps. So he takes several strength 5 hits and ends up taking 1 wound for his trouble. Over here, I have charged the Saurus into the skeleton block, and they're basically unsupported, so I have nothing to fear here. Those Saurus are just going to eat that block. My hope is I'll eat the block and I'll turn around and reform, so I'll be close enough to the altar, which will start counting down its claimant to being claimed this turn. And again, I moved my angle here a little bit. I'm not sure why, but I think I'm still trying to have a front line shot of the dwarves when they come in so I can stand and shoot. But I still can't turn around. I'm kind of pinched in the middle, hoping that I'll claim the points. But you do see there's our turn counter. It is turn 9 at this point. And the Bastillodon kind of slowly lumbers around this way in case the dwarves do charge my cohort. I'll be able to counter-charge in the flank if the game keeps going. And a little bit of shooting takes off maybe another 1 or 2 dwarves, but really not enough. I think the dwarves, if they're fast enough to get into combat, could cause some problems before the end of this game. And there's really not a whole heck of a lot either myself or the Undead Legions player can do about that. And of course, during combat, the Saurus absolutely trounce the skeleton warriors. I don't think I take any wounds, and I turn around to reform. Then during Undead Legion's turn, the zombies charge into the back of the cohort. They do succeed the charge, although it doesn't look like here. They just are too wide to fit through the pillars there, but we're not counting them as blocking terrain. So there is the fight, and I'm kind of worried about that. I don't have a lot of attacks. I'm planning on making way with Kubonai, but I'm going to need to be on point to get over and not take it from this one. Over here, the skeleton archers decide he's going to go ahead and start focusing on me. Maybe he can kill a couple more Saurus. He's not been having any luck with the dwarves. Then during magic, Invocation of Nehet goes off, increasing the fighting zombie brick to 20 man strong again, which is just bad news for me, and adding 3 or 4, I mean it's not very many, onto the other zombie unit that's in front of her. He then chooses to drop his catapult on the head of my Saurus. I think he kills 3 more of them. So I'm down to, less than 3 ranks now? But luckily Cold-Blooded wins the day, and I don't panic. So we go into combat, and for the most part, I fluff. He kills a couple of skinks. Kubonai does exactly dick back. I think the Kroxigor kills the 3 or 4 guys that are dead, but between the ranks he's got on me, the charge, the rear, I lose this battle. So I'm doing like rerollable 5, but luckily on the reroll, Cold-Blooded sticks it. And the dwarves move up, and the game ends at that point because they failed their 1 charge into combat. So this is what it looks like when it's all over. The world paused for a moment as Kubonai forced the crystalline key into the altar's center stone. The power of the geomantic web welled out and drove back both the undead and the dwarfs. But the sight was not completed, for the dwarves had claimed the first tower, and their corruption of the web prevented its closure. But fortunately for the bearded folk, it gave them a place to retreat as the ancient energies ripped the site apart. In moments, the dwarf's tower was the only thing standing in the clearing. Then, where the magic had destroyed, it began to create. A gleaming golden pyramid rose from the ground, bearing the signs of the Slann and their ancient masters. The undead were driven back by the power of the pyramid, and only the walls of the tower kept the dwarves from being vaporized by the energies released. As the power died down, the golden pyramid stood, marred only by the sight of the twisted stone tower that prevented it from growing to its true size. As Lord Tenok looked on through the eyes of Mapikaju, he was pleased. Even if the dwarfs prevented the pyramid from attaining its true majesty, his forces were successful in erecting the first pyramid in the old world in millennia. Clearly the world was changing, and woe be to those that sought to stand in the way of the Old One's will. So, pretty good game for the Lizardmen. I gained a record low gold as I tried to loot with the Bastiladon and my Cold One Rider at 2 different points and got traps both times. Bastiladon didn't take any wounds, so I didn't make note of it. But luckily, because I won the game, I got the roll-off at the end that netted me 6 gold pieces. Yay! In much greater news, I did unlock by winning Tower 2 a new character who will be my Lore of Beasts Skink Priest. So that's super exciting. I'm hoping to have the character information and name put up before maybe the next battle, but we'll see how well that goes. And the dwarves had a solid game as well. I guess it paid off to watch us beat each other to death and just loot the battlefield. So the dwarves actually gained an astounding 41 pieces of gold this game. They claimed Tower 1, and what he unlocked from that was the Master Rune of Grungy. And because he lost, he gained Fear Lizardmen for his next battle with the Lizardmen. Not that that's really going to matter on a Leadership 10 army with rerolls from a BSB, but what can you do? And then the Undead Legions did not go home completely empty-handed. They gained 13 pieces of gold, and because they also lost the game, his Skull Catapult deserted, so he can't use that in his next game. So all in all, this was a very fun way to say goodbye to 1,000-point armies in the campaign. I really look forward to the next games where we've kicked everything up from this point on to 1,250 points. So definitely an interesting scenario. I kind of had fun playing around with it. The only thing, there's really not much of a reason to not have one person just watch 2 beat the hell out of each other and then come in late. I may try to figure out a way to make that not happen if we do another one of these 3-way games again. But all in all, it was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will, as always, leave questions and comments below. We'll get to them as soon as we can. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.